Hi Facebook, I'm Ellie Frost, and this video is all about integrity and I guess alignment, I guess energetic alignment, because we hear about that a lot. So if you know about law of attraction and how do you manifest things? How do you create in your life, right? And it's all about kind of staying in alignment with your highest intentions and outcomes and not contradicting that. And I wanted to talk about integrity in particular because I like that word, and I feel like it's kind of like most of us trip up, right? Because we do things out of integrity all the time, or it's a common thing, right? It's so easy to do. We want to please people, we want to make them happy, we want to do what's easy in life, right? But every single thing that we do that is not in alignment with what we truly want or who we truly are actually holds us back. And it's the small tiny decisions we make day by day, minute by minute, moment by moment that actually trip us up. And I wanted to talk about it because we underestimate it. You know, me too. Like, I've done it myself many times, and we think it doesn't matter. Like, say for example, like being in alignment means that you have a vision or you have a goal or you have a way you want to be, and like your thoughts, beliefs and actions all kind of align with that. But every time you do something that's inauthentic, that feels off to you, right? But you tell yourself, oh, I'll just do it because it's easier, or because that person will feel better if I do, or because I need the work, or you know, whatever it is. We contradict our highest intentions and outcomes, which means that we actually push away our vision. And it's the actual small decisions that we make, it's those daily decisions, those tiny little ones that actually push us off much more than the big ones, because most of our life is about small decisions, isn't it? It's about small choices that we make. It's about tiny little things that we do every single day that we think don't matter, and they really, really matter. I always tell my clients, like, nothing's neutral. Like, we think things are neutral. They're not. Everything is either like contributing or contaminating to your vision and who you want to be. And when it feels off, it's off, right? But so much we compromise. Like, so often we do what we think is easier, or what would be, I suppose, what we think is better because of what other people might think, or what we think we have to do. But every time we do that, we compromise our authenticity and our integrity, and fundamentally our energetic alignment with what we truly want, right? So alignment with what you want is when your thoughts, beliefs and actions all add up to that person that you're moving into, to that next level you. And we get to that next level identity and that next level vision when we are in alignment with it. So therefore, when we're acting and believing and thinking as if we are that person already, when we've already achieved that. But it's so easy in day-to-day life, you know, to be something else. It's so easy to get triggered. It's so easy to compromise. And I don't really believe in compromise. Like, I don't really feel like you have to compromise. I feel like you have to be aligned. And I feel like when you're aligned, everything gets to work out. And when everything gets to work out, it's not a fucking decision. It's not, you know you're in alignment when things are flowing. You know you're out of alignment when it's a big decision. And I know every single time I've made a decision, which we all do, that's been out of alignment, I've always known. Maybe it has been, I don't know, in a friendship or a relationship. Maybe it's been in a work situation where maybe I've like compromised on what I believed in, or what I wanted, or what I thought, right? And there's always valid reasons why we compromise our integrity. Maybe we think that we need the money, or maybe we think that we can't. It's always about scarcity and lack. It's always about, I don't think I can have what I want, basically. And that's what we're putting out in the universe, right? So the universe goes, okay, cool, you don't think you can have what you want, so you can't have what you want, so therefore you have to take this lesser version. But actually, our job is to align with what we want and stand firm and decide and be really convicted. Because I know the times in my life where I'm really convicted in that I get to have what I want. It's easy. It's not a compromise. I never had to think, abundance, like we talk about scarcity and abundance. Abundance is this and this and this and this, and it's an expansive energy. So it's not like a compromise energy. It's not a scarcity energy. It's all about having more and more and more of what we want. So every time we come from that point of view of, I should do this out of some kind of like lack or scarcity or feeling like we have to compromise or sacrifice, we are not in the abundance vibe, right? So we're not attracting our highest good. And it's never, well, sometimes it's the big decisions, but mostly it's those small, tiny decisions we make daily. It's every time we let someone push us into something that we're not quite okay with. Every time we compromise who we are. Every time we say yes when we mean no. Every time when all of that is when we kind of step out of abundance and into scarcity, and also compromise. I just wanted to share it because it's a really big thing. And like, I've been thinking about it a lot recently about how it really is the sum of our small decisions in life, right, that equals the big picture. It's not, I mean, I've taken some big leaps, and like entrepreneurs often will, we will, but like it's the cumulative kind of small things that we choose and decide and allow and accept every day. It's what we tolerate every day, right? It's every time we cut ourselves off. Authenticity is about being totally true to ourselves, even when we can't see like what the outcome's going to be. So often it's about having to like, I know in my life so often it's been about saying no to things that seemed like a good idea, but I knew they weren't in complete integrity, right? Not knowing how it was going to work out, and knowing that I was potentially at risk, if you want to call it that. So not knowing what the next thing was or how it was actually going to work out in any way, shape or form, but just being willing and being available for standing in full integrity, which meant like saying no to things. Often being in integrity means saying no much more than you say yes. It means like being prepared to walk away. It means being prepared to say no. It means being prepared to hold a different standard for yourself in your life, right? Often before the next standard comes in. It's so easy, isn't it? If you've got like the next thing available, then it's so easy to say no. But when you don't see that path and when you haven't got that certainty, it's much harder. But the only way to it is from saying no to what you don't want. The only way to achieve, you know, those other things that you do want that are totally aligned and totally in integrity is by saying no and rejecting and not being available for the stuff that's unwanted. And that's the hardest bridge for us all to like kind of cross, because most of the time we're thinking this is what's available to me and this is all that's available to me because this is all that I can see right now. And that's the hardest shift, because we can't always see like what else, but you can't even be available or open or I don't know, like the possibility of what else can't even come through energetically unless you say no to what's unwanted, unless you're not available for anything else. You see, when you can really hold a vision or really hold an idea or possibility so strongly that that's all you're going to accept, then everything else has to fall away. But sometimes we have to stand up for that. Sometimes we have to like really stand for that, which means saying no to everything that's not serving us, and not being like 2 degrees out or like, oh, well, it's kind of right, but not quite right. You have to be like 100% in. You have to be like, if you want it, if you really want it, if you want the certain level of success or certain level of impact or the relationship or the health or whatever it is you're going for, you have to be 100% in if you really want it. If you're prepared to be slightly off, then act accordingly, I guess. But if you're in true integrity with your highest vision, then you can't take those compromises. They just won't work out. They just will never, ever work out. They will always contaminate rather than contribute to what you're building. They'll hold you up. So, yeah, I just felt like I'd make this little video, bring them on camera. Who am I bringing on camera, Ron? My dogs. Who am I bringing on camera? I'm not sure what that means. Guys, it's like, it's been raining all day today in California, which is really weird. Like, it's never happens here. It's been cold and really windy. Really, really strange day. But I feel like, yeah, it's been kind of nice as well in a weird way. I've got my fire going and like, I'm just chilling. But I wanted to talk about it because when you talk about like how do you like manifest things, how do you bring them into your life, right? You have to be in alignment with them, which means you have to be a vibrational match, which means that you have to believe, think and act in ways that are aligned with that thing. And that kind of trips people up because they don't really understand what it means, but it just means that you always have to like feel like it's already done, and you have to just know that it's yours, and you have to like kind of not deny it in yourself. You have to like completely believe you're worthy of it, completely believe it's inevitable, completely believe it's coming, completely believe it's kind of done. And then what most people do is they act out of integrity. They act in a way that kind of contradicts that. And then they wonder why things aren't coming through. Well, that's why things aren't coming through. Like literally, someone actually was working with me recently and saying, like, how do you change like other people's perception of you? How do you change like what people think about you? Well, you change your perception of yourself and you hold an energy. It's not through, like, words don't teach. It's not through telling people who you are. It's through holding an energetic. It's through holding a kind of vibration, holding a belief about yourself so strong, right, that other people notice it. I had a client once and she was saying that when she became a vegetarian, people used to bully her and they were nasty to her, and like, you know, it was a big deal. And then like she shifted her vibration, she shifted her energy, she decided to accept herself and not see it as awkward and just be completely like, you know, accepting of it in herself and like expecting people just to be fine with it, and everything around her changed. And it really is like that, like how we think internally, it's an internal job. How we perceive ourselves, how we expect people to treat us, and what we expect to get is exactly what shows up externally. So whatever's going on in life right now, even if it's not looking so good, it's just a past manifestation, it's just a past way of thinking. But our job now is to be in full integrity with what we truly want. And even if you're not really clear on it, you know, like a lot of the times, like my vision changes and like it grows and builds, and I've done different businesses and different things. But like, I just like kind of like stick to the bits that I do know, right? So if I don't know exactly what it has to look like, I know I want freedom. I know I want expansion. I know I want to work with like amazing people. I know I love creative people. I know I love people who are here to change the world in a positive way. I know I love spiritual people. I know I love people who are here to like elevate consciousness, right? So I know the broadness of what I want. So I just focus on that. I don't focus on the bits that I don't know, like what exactly that looks like in a business all the time, right? So it's been a coaching business, and it's been an online business, and it's been a consult, you know, I had different businesses. It doesn't really matter what they are. I just focus on what I do know, and I stay in alignment and integrity with that. And then, you know, everything else has to line up. And every time I've compromised it and been out of integrity in any slight little way, things haven't gone so well, because it's not true. It's not the truest expression of who I am. So like if I've ever like cut my fees, for example, or, you know, done things that I know isn't my job, you know, or even in relationships, like, you know, hung around with people because I've told myself a story about, oh, like, for example, when I came out here to the States, you know, like I didn't know a lot of people. That was a story I had in my head. So I maybe made some friends that they're not in integrity fully for me. They're not my ideal friendships. They were things that just didn't feel good, right? But I told myself a story. I'm new in a country, so therefore maybe I should make friends. And it was out of integrity. And so none of that worked out very well. And it never, ever will, because we have, like, and I know this, right? I teach people this every day. So, you know, but I'm human. So like we still like have to work through our own stuff. But like, every time I do something that's out of integrity, that's not 100% aligned with who I know I am and what I know I want, my desires, my true desires, my heartfelt, soul-felt desires, it doesn't work out. It just doesn't work out. The universe is like very, very generous and is telling me, stay in integrity, stay in alignment, stay in authenticity. So every time I take on, like I'd be that friend with that person, but I know it's not quite right, that friendship's going to go wrong. Something's going to, you know, it just doesn't work out. And like, I feel like it's those small, tiny decisions. It's the tiny little decisions we make every day that we think don't matter, that really affect our entire life. It affects everything. It affects our outcome. It affects our vision. It affects our biggest goals. We think they don't matter. We think, oh, I can just let this person treat me like this and it doesn't really matter because it's not a big deal. Or I can take this client on, it's not an ideal client, but I'll just do it because I need the work. Or whatever we're telling ourselves, it's just bullshit. It's just bullshit. It's always coming from scarcity and lack. It's not coming from abundance, and it has massive consequences in our life. Stick to what and whom has the best. Never settle. Yeah, that's kind of true. That's kind of true. So, you know, and the more and I've known it for years, but I still have to be reminded of it, you know, like it's kind of like the more I do it, the more I realize like the consequences are really big, right? Every time we step out of integrity, because we have soul desires, we have something in our heart and soul to do, and it's ours for a reason, because it's there for us. And our kind of, if you want to call it inner being or spiritual guidance or God, whatever you believe in, is always guiding us towards that. You know, like when you really have something in your heart to do, I know it's meant for you. I know for fucking sure it's meant for you. And it's not, you know, it's not like a joke, and it's not just like there to torment you. It's actually meant for all of us, like what we are called to do. And like some of us just shut that down, and some of us decide to go for it. But if you decide to go for it, you can't be out of integrity. Like if you're building your dream, if you're building your vision, if you're building your ideal life, you can't be out of integrity. And every time you do it, it just doesn't turn out well. It just doesn't turn out well. Even if it's just a slight little bit. I mean, I've told myself so many times that, you know, oh, it doesn't really matter. I'll just put up with it for now. Or, oh, I'll just take this on because it's kind of almost aligned or whatever. It doesn't work out. It never works out. It's out of alignment. And it's saying no. Like I talk about that all the time in the mastermind. Like, you know, if it's out of alignment, say no. It's what the biggest opportunities in my life came actually over the last like 5 years, I'd say, from when I'd had like really powerful no's. And I didn't know what the fuck was going to happen. I just knew that I wasn't available for what was being offered. And it wasn't bad. None of it was bad. I just said no. Like I remember like when I set my first business up and like I got a lot of opportunity to work with people, but they were the wrong people to start with. I knew it wasn't aligned. And so I said no, not knowing how I was going to make money, not knowing how it was going to work out, not knowing how I'd get the right clients, right? Not even knowing if they fucking existed, but I obviously knew they did because I know that, you know, there's a universal law of polarity, which means that if I have a desire for it, there's another side of it, which means it must exist, right? But what you want wants you, and what you seek seeks you. But at that time, I didn't know when or how or any of that stuff. I just knew that I had to show what I was available for. But it's so easy in day-to-day life. And I know over the last year, because I moved countries and I like had different set of circumstances, I probably like made a few more compromises than I would have made usually, because I had a few more stories in my head about what that meant in terms of like being new somewhere or building a business in a different country, even though I work online, so it's not really a thing. But like, you know what I mean? I made different compromises, and I can absolutely see like, and you know, I'm a coach, so it's kind of like weird to admit, but like where I've been not in complete integrity, it has backfired. And like it's not been like, I'll never be out of integrity or authenticity to like a great extent, but even that marginal, those small little decisions where I just kind of let things go, or I employed someone that I knew wasn't quite right, but I just thought I needed them, or made decisions that were not in true abundance and not in true kind of universal truth. Universal truth to me is abundance. So like, you know, not in true like, I don't know, that kind of like abundant energy, that's really, really, you know, it's made a difference. It's slowed things up. Where I've taken a client where they've been like, yeah, they've been here to change the world, do great things, but they may not have been completely aligned with everything that I wanted. It doesn't ever work out properly. It never works out well, because it's not a true, like when you have a desire, there's a law of polarity, which means that your desire gets to be matched in the universe. It's actually done on one plane if you look at universal law, and I believe that and I know that. So the solution's already there. But if you act out of integrity with that, you're kind of denying that desire, and you're making a compromise you don't need to make, but you're also creating at that point. So the point of creation is the point of thought. So therefore you're creating something that you don't want, and therefore you're energizing and being available for something that you don't want, and actually delaying what you do want. So I hope that makes sense. I think my phone's going to run out of charge. I wanted to share, kind of like a deep consciousness Facebook Live, but like, yeah, it's really, really true. And it's so funny, like how you see it. Like what's wonderful is that we see it reflected back to us all the time. There's no neutral. Everything's contributing or contaminating, and like everything we do is important. Everything counts. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah. And like, you know, even if we get good at it, you know, like even if we're like practiced, it's still easy to make, you know, these compromises. It's these day to day, these small little things we do when we know they're out of integrity. We know they feel a bit off, but they're not off enough to cause us pain, right? So we just go off gear a bit, and then it just continues and continues and continues. But it just contaminates what we're actually moving towards. It contaminates our joy. It contaminates our expansion. It contaminates what we can create, right? And we think they don't matter because they're just little choices. It's those small decisions. It's not the big ones so much. It's the small ones that we make like cumulatively over and over again that actually equal what we get, like actually equal our life, right? And it's hard to make those stands. It's hard to say, I'm not available for this, or this is not okay for me. It's hard when it's tempting, isn't it? But like, I think it's just the most important thing. And I've known it for a long time. I've known it because I've done it for a long time. But then if you get in a different set of circumstances, it's so easy to trick yourself and think, well, but maybe here I should make this compromise. Maybe in this situation I should do this. But it's, we're always getting what we're energetically available for. We're always getting what we put out. We're always like transmitting basically to the universe a signal of like what's okay with us. The universe plays snap with our energetic, with our thoughts, beliefs and actions, with our emotions. So therefore, whatever we show we're available for, we get back. It's like a game of snap. And so every time we make those compromises, we actually lower our standard, and we also lessen our opportunities, and that's a shame. Like, I can absolutely see where I've done that over the last 12 months, like where I've actually lessened my opportunities because I've made compromises that, you know, if I hadn't made, I wouldn't have been available for. I'd have been available for bigger. So I played a smaller game, right? Because I was making these tiny little, they seemed tiny at the time, like small little compromises. But they, you know, it absolutely affects the whole. So I hope that's inspiring. I'll speak to you soon, guys.